Welcome back to our series on Lightspeed framework features. Today we will take a look at the security model of our framework. Security is one of the key components of any application, and we all need to safeguard the data against the prying eyes. There are always two parts of security, first being authentication and second being authorization. Let's review them individually. As far as the authentication is concerned, our framework has a built-in database-based authentication model where the user details are saved and validated before a user is allowed to log into the application. While the authentication method works, our framework has a modular design where the base authentication method can easily be replaced with any specific implementation. Many times we have been asked to offer more than one authentication method out of the box, but we always have felt that we would go for a leaner solution, but flexible enough so that it can be updated with low code for each implementation. As part of the authentication, the standard features of forgot password, remember device, one-time password, user lockout, and inactive users have been integrated. We are currently utilizing email as a standard for our one-time password feature. This can be extended to a SMS option if needed with low code. In order to keep the base solution more flexible, customers can choose to enable the required features of authentication based on their needs. Once the user has been authenticated, we need to understand the process of authorization before access can be granted. We have taken the resources, which are menus, grids, dashlets, forms, and reports, and grouped them into modules. If you click on any menu or any form, which is a page, you will notice that they're all tied to a module. Users can choose to define each resource into their own module or combine them into few modules based on their requirements. Once modules are created and assigned to resources, we then need to define roles which controls the permissions to those modules. There's no limit on number of roles, and each role does not require permission to all modules. Some companies have defined roles based on the job roles, while others have defined based on the feature set. Once the roles are created, each user is then assigned one or more roles, which will define their access level to various resources in the application. All permissions for a given user are based on cumulative model from their assigned roles. In our quest to keep the right balance with real-time security and the overhead, our framework has a unique solution where the security is checked in real time, but optimized to reduce the overhead of data access by keeping a dynamic cache for a short duration, say 5 minutes, which can easily be configured at design time for full flexibility. This way, if a user is interacting with the same module, our framework will validate it every 5 minutes or so, rather than on every attempt. While this model has worked very well, we have provided administrators the ability where if they need to force security updates immediately, they can do so. Let's walk through the process of creating a new role and assigning access to customer modules. While we are assigning a module, we can select the permission. As you can see, We have grid and export permissions, which are mainly for lists, whereas the add, edit, show, and delete permissions are for the forms. Custom A through custom D are additional options which are available in case you would like to assign some custom permissions for the module. Once the role is defined, we can assign that to a user, and that user will now have access to the user will now have the access with the defined permissions to the related resources. Our framework design follows the model where it will not show the resources that are not authorized for the logged in user. In case you need to implement a field level security, it needs to be integrated at design time. All passwords are stored using one-way encryption by default. Some of our customers have integrated the framework with external authentication system, while few have taken it a step further to keep a full audit of all users' activity within the application. Hope this clarifies how our security model is integrated into the framework but is flexible enough to be replaced with any method that you need to use. Thanks for watching, and we encourage you to watch other features of the Lightspeed framework, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact us.